Suleiman the Lawgiver. Now the Ottoman Turks had the largest empire in the world. It covered the Middle East and spread into North Africa. Constantinople, now called Istanbul, was their capital city. The Ottoman Turks repaired the broken walls, laid new stones down over the streets, and dug new wells. They reopened the harbors for trade. Soon the countries around them were recognizing the Sultan of the Turks as one of the most powerful rulers in the world. "No one doubts that you are now the Emperor of Rome," wrote one scholar to the Sultan. "Constantinople is the center of the Roman Empire, and whoever rules Constantinople is emperor." The greatest emperor and sultan of all was Suleiman. Suleiman became sultan in 1520. He was named after the Hebrew king Solomon, the wisest ruler of ancient times, and just like his namesake, he became known all over his kingdom for his fairness. Suleiman wanted to make sure that all the people of his country were treated fairly, and that the laws he passed were followed. This was a big task. In an empire as large as the Ottoman Empire, there were many different courts in many different villages and cities, and different parts of the empire sometimes followed different laws. So Suleiman took all the different laws that the Ottoman people followed and put them together into one set of laws that his whole empire would follow. Justinian, the great Byzantine emperor, had done the same thing when he came to the throne of Byzantium. Both of these great rulers knew that they could only hold their large empires together if everyone had the same set of laws to obey. Suleiman went one step further than Justinian. He chose governors who would supervise the different parts of his empire and to make sure that his new laws were followed. But he wanted to make sure that these governors were being just, so he would dress in disguise so that no one knew who he was and travel around his empire watching all of his governors to make sure that they were behaving properly. Suleiman also had the largest spy network in the world. His spies lived all through the empire, keeping an eye on all of the empire's officials. They told him whenever an official was acting unjustly, and the spies told Suleiman whether or not he was popular. The Sultan knew that he could only be a good ruler if his people liked him, so he told his spies to go listen to Friday prayers all over the empire. Muslim worshippers pray every day, but on Fridays, they are supposed to pray that their Sultan will live a long time and be healthy. The spies were supposed to tell Solomon whether or not his people prayed for him on Fridays. If everyone prayed that the Sultan would live a long time and be healthy, Solomon knew that his people liked him and wanted him to go on ruling. But if they decided not to pray for him, Solomon knew that he was in trouble. Solomon wasn't just the head of his empire. He also declared that he was Caliph, the head of all the Muslims in the entire world. Not all of the world's Muslims agreed that Suleiman should be their spiritual leader, but Suleiman had an advantage. His empire had spread to include Mecca, Medina, and Jerusalem, the three holiest cities in Islam. Any Muslim pilgrim who wanted to travel to a holy city had to enter Suleiman's empire. So when Suleiman announced, "I am the Caliph," no one argued with him too loudly. Suleiman was just as careful to be a good spiritual leader as he was to be a good emperor. Old stories tell us that although Suleiman had guaranteed all pilgrims a safe journey to the holy cities in his empire, he hadn't bothered to rebuild the walls around Jerusalem, which had been destroyed during the Crusades. One night, Suleiman was sleeping when he had a dreadful dream. He was standing on the plain in front of Jerusalem, watching pilgrims go into the city, when two huge golden lions appeared from behind the city's walls, snarling at him. He tried to run, but the lions pounced on him and started to tear him apart. And a voice said sternly to him, "This has happened because you have not protected the holy city of Jerusalem." When Suleiman woke up, he thought, "That dream came from God. It is a command to rebuild the wall around Jerusalem." He ordered his craftsmen and masons to start to work at once on a thick, strong wall to protect the holy parts of Jerusalem from any invasion, and he also commanded them to build a gate in this wall with a carved lion on either side, as a reminder of his dream. Today the Lion Gate still stands in Jerusalem. By the time Suleiman died, he ruled over so much land that he called himself slave of God, master of the world, Shah of Baghdad and Iraq, Caesar of all the lands of Rome, and the Sultan of Egypt. Actually, Suleiman's empire never spread over to Italy, where Rome stood, but he did rule the largest empire in the world, and the rest of the world called him Suleiman the Magnificent. After Suleiman's death, his son inherited his throne, but this new sultan was a weak ruler. His people called him the drunkard because he spent more time at parties than he did running his country. The Ottoman Empire began to shrink. It lasted for more than 300 years before it disappeared completely, but never again was it as powerful as it had been under Suleiman the Magnificent.